Hey, all you literary legends and luminaries. I'm Julie, and welcome to Booksmart. Today's book may change your life, especially if you are an artist in the midst of some creative project. It's called The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. So this book I've picked up and put down at Barnes & Noble on 2 occasions. I feared Rick Rubin was some social media influencer and had enough followers for Penguin Press to publish his book, or someone like that. I finally decided to buy it when Barnes & Noble ran their hardcover books a third off, and I got triple stamps at the same time. When I got home, I looked up Rick Rubin. He's a music producer for many musical groups that I know and like. I was so relieved. Yet I didn't see all great things about Rick Rubin online. Corey Taylor of Stone Sour and Slipknot, whose book I just did a Booksmart episode about in December, didn't speak highly about him. It's such a small world, how everything connects. So I figured the universe wanted me to wait to read the book until the perfect time. And so this is the book I finished reading on New Year's Day. And it was the perfect book to read for the new year, and it was the perfect time for me to read it as I had just finished writing a memoir. My proof was coming in the mail by the end of the week. The universe works in mysterious ways. But it is never to be questioned because it knows more than we do. Rubin has written a book about the creation of art. Art is not just the kind you see in a gallery. Art is anything that is created. Movies, books, music, etc. The book is part inspirational, part self-help, part how-to. And if you see all my kitty cat tabbies here, you know I found the book useful. Now let me say this. Had I read this book at a different point in time in my life, I may not have found it so useful. I may have actually found it juvenile or obvious in a no-duh really kind of way with its quotes and simplistic statements, not to mention its large print and chapters that are barely over a page long. Rubin states in his book that the creative process comes when it comes. So maybe reading books is the same thing. They come to us when we need them. The best way to get the feel of the creative act, a way of being, is to read you an excerpt from the beginning. And so this is kind of right away. It's not the very first thing he writes, but it's right at the beginning. To live as an artist is a way of being in the world, a way of perceiving, a practice of paying attention, refining our sensitivity to tune in to the more subtle tones, looking for what draws us in and what pushes us away, noticing what feeling tones arise and where they lead. A tuned choice by a tuned choice. Your entire life is a form of self-expression. You exist as a creative being in a creative universe. A singular work of art. Wow, your entire life is a form of self-expression. How powerful is that? The book is organized in very short chapters, many with words of wisdom in between them that read kind of like short poems. So let me read you a couple of examples so you can kind of see how he separates some of his sections, not all, but some of them. So here's one. The person who makes something today isn't the same person who returns to the work tomorrow. And here's another one. Art is choosing to do something skillfully, caring about the details, bringing all of yourself to make the finest work you can. It is beyond ego, vanity, self-glorification, and need for approval. Just those simple words refocus your attention and give you easy directives to follow as you are working through your project in life. In his short chapters, Rubin doesn't spend much time on developing each aspect of being. Rather, he describes what his concept is, provides inspiration, and gives simple suggestions for following through with whatever it is the chapter is about. Rubin's way of being is organized with the path of creation. Starting with the source of creativity, Rubin moves through the reader through the creation process, which is the bulk of the book. He touches upon subjects like perfectionism, self-doubt, procrastination, point of view, mindfulness, expectations, purpose, collaboration, and success. Yet the way he covers such topics is unique. He's not preaching anything. He's not condescending in tone, yet it doesn't read like your elementary school teacher wrote it. Rubin's goal of the book is to encourage the artists out there to do their art, plain and simple. As an artist, it's our job to take our seedlings, transmute them, and share them. To pick up on such signals of inspiration, we must be in touch with our inner child to see the world the way we saw it as children. Rubin brings up such a childlike perspective throughout the book. It's something to think about as we go through our day, which is filled with to-do lists and work and how we spend our free time. But most importantly, how we look at the world and interact with it, our awareness of it, our curiosity of it. Maybe that's why I still have everything pink, because why should I give it up just because I became an adult? What's the fun in that? According to Rubin, and I quote, expressing oneself in the world and creativity are the same. It may not be possible to know who you are without somehow expressing it. Rubin only hints at many ideas, some of which I wish he would have developed more. One is in relation to seeing coincidences once you begin working on a project. That happens to me a lot. Another one he briefly mentions is about not following others. Our goal in art is not to fit in. He states this, the world isn't waiting for more of the same. I love that quote. It's funny, when I read a lot of this, I was thinking about Madonna's book, how I could see Madonna in so much of it. Too bad Mary Gabriel didn't focus her book just on Madonna's art, as that would have been a powerful focus. See, look at all the coincidences. Let me read you one of the most powerful passages I found in the book and one of the most helpful. It's in the chapter titled Make It Up, although I didn't think that was a particularly good title for this section. Rubin throws in a lot of topics into a little more than a page, but it covers something that I haven't really seen written elsewhere, yet it's something that plagues me. So, I gotta find the page here, and I have so many little tabbies marked, and I think that's too far. That's not far enough. Here we go. Okay. So, how do we move forward considering the stories we tell ourselves? One of the best strategies is to lower the stakes. We tend to think that what we're making is the most important thing in our lives and that it's going to define us for all eternity. Consider moving forward with the more accurate point of view that it's small work, a beginning. The mission is to complete the project so you can move on to the next. That next one is a stepping stone to the following work, and so it continues in productive rhythm for the entirety of your creative life. All art is a work in progress. It's helpful to see the piece we're working on as an experiment, one in which we can't predict the outcome. Whatever the result, we will receive useful information that will benefit the next experiment. Ultimately, your desire to create must be greater than your fear of it. That part just made so much sense to me. More than 100 pages later, Rubin then rewrites this. When you believe the work before you is the single piece that will forever define you, it's difficult to let it go. The urge for perfection is overwhelming. It's too much. We are frozen and sometimes end up convincing ourselves that discarding the entire work is the only way to move forward. The only art the world gets to enjoy is from creators who've overcome these hurdles and released their work. Perhaps still greater artists existed than the ones we know, but they were never able to make this leap. Releasing a work into the world becomes easier when we remember that each piece can never be a total reflection of us, only a reflection of who we are in this moment. If we wait, it's no longer today's reflection. In a year, we may be guided to create a piece that looks nothing like it. There is a timeliness to the work. When you and the work are in sync, there's a time to put it out and move on. Each new project is another opportunity to communicate what's coming through you. It's another chance at bat, another opportunity to connect, another page filled in the diary of your inner life. Some of Rubin's words of wisdom can spark debate. He writes this, in the end, you are the only one who has to love it. This work is for you. And then later he states that the audience comes last when making art. That's an interesting viewpoint. When we write or give speeches, which according to Rubin would be considered art because we are creating something, we're always taught to consider the audience, yet Rubin is telling us not to. Even though Rubin doesn't exactly give you a to-do list, there are some helpful life skills to ponder, even if they aren't new. For instance, Rubin states this, the more you reduce your daily life maintenance tasks, the greater the bandwidth available for creative decisions. This is not a new concept. Billionaires wear the same thing every day to avoid wasting any time on such decisions. Fashion choices are fun for me, but food is not. I decided to take away all my food stress and have designated days for sandwiches or pizza and keep my lunch consistent and simple. So far, I've had very success. As the book continues, I didn't mark as much. Sometimes Rubin repeats himself and the information is not well organized, especially the further you get in the book. I didn't mark as much stuff either later in the book because the information was based more on music or collaboration or even the act of revising, which didn't reveal anything particularly new for me there. At times he can be vague, which in the beginning of the book seems really profound, but the more you read, the more it gets a little annoying. Rubin also contradicts himself. In the beginning of the book, he tells us if we can't devote our life to art, then perhaps we aren't artists. Later in the book, he writes for those of us who need to make a living because more often than not, your art will not pay the bills. And then another contradictory idea is that we shouldn't remain too long in the crafting phase for many reasons, but then later on, he acts like the more time you walk away from the project, the better. These moments in the book are a little frustrating, but because he quickly moves on to the next topic, you're not out too much time and effort. So ultimately, the question is, should you read The Creative Act? Here's my hokey response. If this book speaks to you and provides you with the clarity and inspiration to work at your art in your life, then you have read the book when you were supposed to. And isn't that all these types of books are meant to do for us? There's a reason we're seeking out inspiration. There's a reason we're reading how-to books or even self-help books. We're looking for something even if we don't know quite what it is we're looking for. And when a book speaks to us, we found that something that we needed to enhance our life at that moment. When such a book disappoints us, it wasn't the book we needed to guide us at that point in our life. The tricky part is you won't know whether or not it was the book you needed unless you give it a try. For me, I'm going to keep the book for a while and revisit the stuff I highlighted and marked with my tabbies. I probably won't keep it forever. It will not become a permanent part of my library. But for now, it's the book I needed when I needed it. And that is what makes any book magical. So let me close this episode with one final reading from the book. And this may leave you with food for thought. And I gotta find it again. My little tabbies aren't very sticky. Okay, so the reason we create art isn't with the intention of making something useful for someone else. We create to express who we are and where we are on our journey. Whatever our perspective, so long as we share it, unaltered and undoctored, we succeed in art's fundamental purpose. When making art, we create a mirror in which someone may see their own hidden reflection. Every artist creates a dynamic history, a living museum of finished objects, one work after another, begun, completed, released, begun, completed, released, over and over again, each a timestamp commemorating a moment of passage, a moment filled with energy, now forever embodied in a work of art. Thanks for watching. As always, my goal at Booksmart is to get a little bit smarter, one book at a time.